There's a quiet weight you carry when you say yes, while your whole body is whispering no. We've been taught that kindness means agreeing, that love means sacrifice, that being good means being available, always. But Buddhism offers another way, one that begins with listening, not to others, but to yourself. Because every time you betray your own boundaries to please someone else, you chip away at your peace. And peace, in this practice, is not something you give up for approval. It's something you protect, gently, but firmly. To say no with peace, you must first let go of the belief that others' comfort matters more than your inner clarity. We fear disappointing others because we mistake their approval for our safety. But Buddhism reminds us, clinging leads to suffering, even when that clinging is to being liked. You were not born to carry every request, every expectation, every emotion that isn't yours. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors. Doors that you choose to open, not ones others force their way through. Each time you say no, when your body says yes to rest, you reclaim a little bit of yourself. And in that quiet reclaiming, peace returns. Guilt often comes disguised as love. We think, if I really cared, I would say yes. But caring without care for the self is not love, it's depletion. Buddhist compassion begins within. Before you pour into others, you must ask, am I full or am I running on empty? A no, spoken with honesty and presence, is more loving than a yes, born from resentment. It honors the truth of this moment. And that kind of truth, soft, direct, and rooted, nourishes both you and them. If this is resonating so far, stay with me. Because what comes next might change the way you protect your peace forever. To set a boundary is to choose discomfort now over resentment later. It's not always easy. Sometimes your voice trembles. Sometimes your heart races. But courage isn't the absence of discomfort. It's moving with clarity through it. When you say no, you are not rejecting the person. You are respecting the space between your needs and theirs. This space is sacred. And in Buddhism, sacredness is found not just in silence, but in honesty. Honesty that says, I love you, and this is where I end. We often imagine that saying no will break the connection. But the truth is, a relationship that requires your silence to survive was never a safe place. Buddhist wisdom teaches that authentic connection is born from truth, not performance. Your boundaries are not punishments. They are invitations. Invitations for others to meet you in a space of mutual respect. If someone walks away because of your no, they were never truly listening. And if they stay, it means they've met not just your kindness, but your clarity. Let your no be a mirror, not a weapon. It reflects your inner alignment, not rejection. There is no need to explain every no. Guilt thrives in over-explaining, in the desperate attempt to justify your needs. But Buddhism teaches the power of still, simple truth. A clear no is enough. It doesn't need decoration or apology. It doesn't need a dozen reasons to make it valid. Your truth is valid because it is true. Let your boundary be quiet and firm, like a mountain in wind. It moves no more for guilt than it does for praise. Many of us learned boundaries through pain. We said yes too much, stretched too far, stayed too long. And in that stretching, we forgot ourselves. But forgetting is not the end. It is the doorway to remembering. Buddhism speaks of returning, again and again, to center. Each no is a return. Each pause is a homecoming. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be present enough to notice when your peace is fading, and gentle enough to call it back. A Buddhist life is not just about stillness, it's about discernment. To see clearly what is yours to hold and what is not. This clarity is not cold, it's compassionate. You can say no and still be kind. You can be firm without being harsh. The boundary is not in your words, but in your energy. Say it with your breath steady, your voice calm. Let your no sound like a soft bell, not a slammed door. In this way, Your refusal becomes a form of mindfulness. Some will not understand your peace. They will see your calm boundary as distance. But distance is not the same as disconnection. Buddhist wisdom says, "Let those who misunderstand you walk their own path." You are not here to convince everyone. You are here to live aligned. Your boundaries may disappoint some people, but they will never disappoint your soul. And that is a trade worth making. Every time. When you begin to honor your no, something remarkable happens. You begin to trust yourself again, no longer waiting for outside permission, no longer checking if your needs are too much. Buddhism teaches that the self is not an ego to suppress. It is a field to care for. Your clarity becomes nourishment, and that nourishment, shared with care, becomes wisdom. You are no longer reacting. You are responding, rooted, clear, free. There will be moments when the guilt creeps back in, when you wonder if you were too much or not enough. This is the residue of old conditioning, the echo of a time when your worth was tied to your usefulness. Buddhism invites you to notice that guilt, not obey it, to greet it with compassion, then let it pass like a passing breeze. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to say no without explanation. You are allowed to exist without fixing everything. Peace is not earned through sacrifice. It is claimed through presence. Boundaries are a practice, not a performance. You won't always get it right. Sometimes you'll say yes when you meant no. Sometimes you'll speak too softly, or not at all. And that's okay. Buddhist wisdom is gentle. It welcomes your imperfection with open arms. Each moment is a chance to return, to try again, to choose truth over guilt, clarity over comfort, and to trust that every time you honor your boundary, you strengthen your inner temple. In Buddhism, the middle path means balance, not between right and wrong, but between yourself and the world. It means honoring both compassion and clarity, both giving and holding back. To walk that path is to constantly listen inward. When does giving become self-abandonment? When does silence become suppression? These are not questions others can answer for you. They are answered in stillness, in the quiet, where your inner voice speaks the loudest. And that voice deserves your trust. When you say no from a grounded place, something shifts. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never built for your truth. You begin to value the silence that comes after honesty, even if it's uncomfortable. That silence is sacred. In it, you meet yourself. No longer the person shaped by fear or approval, but someone steady, rooted, real. Buddhism teaches that letting go is not rejection. It's an offering. You offer space for truth to breathe. And in that space, something new always begins. Boundaries are not just about what you say. They are about what you allow, what energy you let near, what patterns you permit to repeat. Every time you protect your peace, you send a message to yourself. I am worth protecting. This is not selfish. It is sacred maintenance. A life of awareness is a life of choosing where your energy goes. Say no, not just with your words, but with your choices. With how you schedule, how you rest, how you say, "This is enough for today." That is the practice. That is the path. You don't need to be loud to be clear. You don't need to be harsh to be heard. Let your boundary be like water, soft, but impossible to push through. Buddhism teaches the way of the middle, where power and peace coexist. You don't need to abandon love to protect yourself. True love includes truth. And sometimes, the most loving act is saying no with your whole heart, because your heart knows what it can hold, and what it must release to remain whole. You may feel resistance when you first begin to say no. Some will challenge your new clarity. They may call you distant, cold, or selfish. But their discomfort is not your responsibility. Buddhism teaches that truth often disrupts before it heals. Stay with the discomfort, not to endure it, but to understand it. Growth isn't always graceful. Sometimes it's messy, awkward, quiet. But every no rooted in truth, becomes a seed for peace, one that blooms slowly, inward first. Peace doesn't require permission. It only requires alignment. When your actions match your inner knowing, guilt fades. You no longer need to rehearse your value. You simply exist, whole, aware, clear. This is the core of Buddhist living: to live truthfully, without apology, to offer kindness without collapsing, to walk with others without abandoning your path. That's not defiance, it's devotion. Imagine a world where everyone honored their own limits, where no was not a threat, but a guidepost, where boundaries created clarity, not conflict. That world begins with you. Every time you say no from a place of peace, you give others permission to do the same. Your courage ripples, your stillness teaches, and slowly, the world remembers. Peace doesn't come from pleasing everyone. It comes from living honestly. You are not here to carry what depletes you. You are here to learn how to love with balance, to serve without self-erasure. Buddhist practice isn't about escaping the world. It's about meeting it with presence and protecting your peace in the process. So the next time guilt whispers that your no is unkind, ask yourself this: is it truly unkind to honor what keeps me whole? And now I ask you, what is one boundary you're finally ready to set? And how would your life change if you honored it starting today?